Welcome to Millwood Outdoors. I'm Jeff, and thanks for tuning in today. Well, as you can see, things don't always go as planned at Millwood Outdoors. I thought about this and thought about the car ramps to use that to get the log splitter elevated, and I just assumed the tractor wouldn't have a problem. But that bracket on the back is my weight rack for when I use my Cub Cadet for blowing snow. And there just isn't enough clearance with that weight rack, but having a jacket up, that wasn't a big deal. So we're all set now. In today's video, we're going to be splitting this box of Misfit rounds. These rounds are ash, box elder, cottonwood, and basswood, and they're all the pieces that were left over from when I was cutting rounds to 16 inches. So all the pieces that are too small or too misshapen to get stacked. So we're going to split these today, and we're going to use those for either my tabletop fire pit, my Solo Stove Mesa XL, or we'll throw them in the wood stove this winter. After we throw some bigger pieces in, we'll throw those in the corners. Well, for the first time using it, I thought that went okay. Got plenty of little pieces split up for the solo stove, for the tabletop fire pit, and by the looks of the box, I got a long ways to go yet. I finished up with a knotty piece of mulberry. I was getting kind of bored just splitting the tiny pieces, and I wanted to try something a little tougher and see how it did. And it looks like it did okay. The push plate's got a little bit of wear to it, and so I'll have to keep an eye on that and keep it greased, and maybe look at a way to tighten that up a little bit. So we'll catch you again later. Well, I never got my box of Misfit rounds finished up from the other day, so let's see what we can do this afternoon. Well, all the misfits and uglies are all split up. So we ended up with 7 large bags of small stuff that I can use in my Solo Stove Mesa XL tabletop fire pit, or I'll just throw them in the wood stove this winter. Well, maybe not this winter, maybe next winter. I think they need some time to season. So 7 large bags and 2 small bags, so maybe 8 large bags total. And then these 3 wheelbarrows full. These will go to my brother's and go in the corn crib, and then my son will probably burn them in the fireplace or in his outdoor fire pit. So this is just kind of the start. I want to get started on this ash next, so there should be some more splitting videos coming up. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I thought my old Speeco Log Splitter did pretty good. It's a little old, it's a little slow, but it got the job done. So if you enjoyed this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe and click that bell down on the bottom. And spend some time outdoors.